I've already talked about Sunset Paradise before, but only in the context of my first impressions of the show and what I anticipated for the rest of the season. And to further add on to those thoughts, I certainly knew this would be one of this year's most underrated series, but I didn't expect it to be so high on my personal list. I thought it would be great, but nothing too extraordinary. I really should have known better. Shock after shock after shock this year has amazed me, one animation after another. It was such a treat to climb from the abysmal depths of the uncanny valley up to watching some of the best animated works of this year. Yes, Sunset Paradise is that good, and I think it deserves a lot more attention than it currently has. It is highly admirable that the people behind this show are able to cook up something this good with their low budget, at least in comparison to other studio entries. What other studios, especially major ones, often struggle to do is use their resources effectively. You may have heard of this one particular major animation studio that has been built on a practice of making as many movies as possible with the lowest budget in comparison to other studios, and while they continue to rake in money, they consistently fail at making something that is even above average, making their success wholly undeserved. If you've never heard of them, do yourself a favor and never watch any of their non-movies. But Glitch Productions is a bit of a different breed from those cash grab studios. Unlike certain others, they actually care about what they're making. They made it very clear in the past that their studio is wholly dedicated to passion projects created in a healthy working environment, at least in comparison to other studios that just cancel projects and squander their workers' potential because it's not making them enough money. They're always trying new things to make a great series, so they say. So it's a joy to see them get something this good on just a production value level with the money they had, while also making sure to spend the same amount of time on story and character. The best way to describe Sunset Paradise is that it feels like a cinematic video game, which, as I said in my first impressions video, was absolutely the creator's goal. From its music to its visuals to its character types, even down to its narrative structure. There are some exceptions, but in general, I just really dislike unnecessarily long arcs lasting for more than 5 episodes, so it's really nice that the little Spud Bud arc only lasts for 2 episodes. So does the Whisk arc, and the Funky Force arc, and then the final 4 episodes being about Benedict. It really does feel like you're progressing through levels in a video game. And I like how the first few villains call back to the personality traits and character arcs of Meggy and Ori. The Spud Buds have an entertaining yet oddly heartwarming camaraderie to reflect how our 2 main characters need to get their act together. Whisk is ultimately a means to testing the both of them on their teamwork and friendship, with the heist plan and them facing their fears. Also, one of the few times that the worst fear trope was used very effectively, the Funky Force being morally questionable heroes that make Meggy turn on the pure-hearted Ori is a pretty great idea. And then Benedict, being the ultimate test of skill he is, forces the two to work together no matter what. Speaking of characters, I have mentioned that I loved Meggy in the pilot, but couldn't find a reason to get so emotionally attached to her since she didn't have any sign of a significant arc she would have to go through. But now, I can safely say that she is probably one of my favorite characters of this year in general. Same goes with Ori too. Meggy is a spunky, athletic tomboy with a heart of gold, but underneath all that she has fears of her own. In her SMG4 incarnation, she's dealt a lot with not being good enough to prove her worth and protect those around her, shutting herself out in fear that their involvement in her troubles will only bring peril unto them. She's already well adjusted to forming attachments and genuine bonds. She just needs to learn to let others help her, especially when they're good enough to handle their own. And in some cases even let them take charge, since otherwise it can lead to burnout and lashing out at others when you don't need to. this is something that people in real life go through. There are people who have experienced a sort of event that shapes them into someone unwilling to accept help from others or let others take charge, because sometimes that can mess up their plans, and if not, it's because they don't want those other people to be hurt in any sort of way, since they'll blame themselves for those troubles, even if it's not their fault. This is a real mentality that people have, and it's not a very good one. It's one that needs to be grown out of eventually, and I'm glad that the people at Glitch treated this with such respect. Since Meggy isn't completely changed by the end, she's just taking first steps. Ori's a complete joy to just watch. His courage, enthusiasm, and determination feed into this kind-hearted nature, and he takes his job very seriously. He genuinely wants to help others and also understands he needs help since he doesn't have the skills to be an actually good sheriff, which puts him in an indirect conflict with Meggy, who is very capable, but like I said, shuts out others out of fear for causing trouble for them. And it's not just Meggy and Ori that are very interesting, but a bunch of the side characters are great. I'd point to Aziz, that one guy that ran the ice cream shop. I totally butchered that name. But let's face it, 75% of my praise for this series is just due to its production value. Its animation is consistently gorgeous, it's warm, it's cozy, and it really gives off that cinematic video game vibe I was talking about earlier. I love the expressions, I love the character designs, I love the backgrounds, and I love how it moves. I gave some grief earlier to its frankly dull cinematography in the first episode, but now I honestly love the shot composition in the later episodes. The music is also really freaking good. On a technical level, this is an astounding web series that is so watchable. Its comedy is also really funny, both the visual gags and the dialogue. I always appreciate it when creators have fun with the script, and you can really tell that the creators were having a lot of fun writing this show. It's stuff like this that delights me, you know? Okay, so this is entirely off script. Originally, I was going to talk about my problems with the show, and I have already recorded that. I think there were 3 main issues that I applied to the show. I think they were Benedict wasn't funny, the mayor was unimportant, and Ori's character was generally weaker compared to Meggy's. The problem is, my dumb recorded the segment before I got to rewatch the series, and after rewatching it, oh my gosh, I am an idiot. Benedict is actually pretty funny, the mayor is still pretty important, and Ori, as a character, is pretty much on par with Meggy. And so I'm not sure what to put here other than the fact that this series is practically a masterpiece. Like, later I'm going to give it like an 8 out of 10, but give it some time, I think it'll be a 9 out of 10. Like, this series is really, really, really good. And any amount of hate towards it, we've now reached the point where it doesn't matter. It's just so good that any hate can't be taken seriously. You know, provided that they don't F up a potential season 2. And speaking of Glitch, Murder Drones is airing soon, so go watch it when it comes out. Anyway, Sunset Paradise is a breathtaking and extremely pleasant surprise with beautiful characterization, tightly written storytelling, and thoroughly impressive technicalities, and it has my absolute wholehearted recommendation. That is, if you've already watched the important SMG4 episodes before this. 8 out of 10. You seriously need to watch The Owl House. It is the single best animated thing that has come out this year. Better than Luca, better than Words Like Soda, and better than every currently airing anime series. There is absolutely no filler in the second season so far. Each character interaction and plot point is a joy to experience, and it's so refreshing to see stuff like this get so much deserved love and attention. Speaking of anime, The Aquatope on White Sand is probably my favorite anime series of this year so far. It may not be your cup of tea, but at least check out the first episode because it is perfect. And once it finally starts airing, please check out Comey Can't Communicate, and Star Wars Visions, and Molly McGee, and Deji Meets Girl, and again, Murder Drones. I might not be the same ever again. So that's my review for Sunset Paradise. It is such an innovative show, and it makes me so delighted. This video took me a long time to make since so much has been happening concerning work and school, and also so do me a solid by telling me your thoughts on Sunset Paradise. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.